Wonderful. All right, Mark, you ready?
I'm recording. I'm going to start the webinar and we'll see who shows up.
Okay.
We are live.
Okay, welcome everyone. I am here with Dr. Ivan Misner and my co-host Mark Silverman. So I want to welcome Ivan. Thank you so much for giving us this wonderful hour of your time. We're excited. I was looking back at the last time that you ventured into our region and I was shocked. It was back in 2004. I don't know if you recall that. We had.
But I've been there after that.
Right, you probably did a layover in JFK, but we haven't seen.
No. I did an event in 2011.
Did you? All right, then I stand corrected. Okay.
But that's okay.
We had a book signing and a network the night away, and it was back in July of 2004. So I'm so excited to have you here in our region. And the last time I saw you was back in 2017 at the conference in Charlotte, which was a wonderful conference. So let me turn it over to my colleague, Mark, who's a member of Chapter 7. Mark is also a web developer. He's also a director consultant, and he handles all of our technology. He's our webmaster, all things Zoom, BNI University, and BNI Online. Mark, take it away.
Thank you. And for attendees, Q&A, the question and answer box. You see a little icon down at the bottom of your video screens. Click that. You can ask your questions. We have questions we've gotten by email already, but ask them live and we'll get to them if we can. Introduction of Dr. Ivan Misner. He's the founder of BNI. Today, 35 years later, the organization has over 9,700 chapters throughout every populated continent of the world. Ivan is a New York Times best-selling author who has written 25 books, including his latest, Infinite Giving, The 7 Principles of Givers Gain. He has been featured in the LA Times, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, as well as on the BBC and on the Today Show on NBC. Ivan has been called the father of modern networking by CNN and one of the top networking experts in the world by Forbes. He's considered by most to be one of the world's leading authorities on the topic of networking. Additionally, the John C. Maxwell organization has named him the Transformational Leader of the Year. Something no one knows about Dr. Misner. In his spare time, he is an amateur magician and a black belt in karate. Manhattan BNI, here's Ivan Misner.
Ivan, you're muted if you'd like to. Okay.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate the invitation or the introduction. It's a pleasure to be able to talk to everybody there in New York. So my plan is I've got a short presentation, less than 10 minutes, and then I'm going to open it up for questions. And I'm happy to answer any question you have. The only dumb question is the unasked question. So whatever's on your mind, I'm happy to do it. We can talk about BNI. If you have a personal question, I'm happy to answer those as well. All right, let's get started. BNI has a history of 35 years of consecutive growth, and I don't know of any other organization in the world that can point to that. In those 35 years, there have been many, many disruptions, recessions, wars. Yes, we had wars in some BNI countries, major weather events, earthquakes, tsunamis, yet BNI has grown year over year for 35 years. Now, 2020 has probably been, well, 2020 has certainly been a unique year, probably more unique than any year in BNI's history. But I really believe that we can actually help even more people this year. Today, we have the most comprehensive set of collateral material and technology that I ever thought possible. At your fingertips, you have every resource you need to serve more people in your community. Now, in 1985, I opened 20 BNI groups in 1 year, 20 in 1 year. Now, that's a good number, but it's a number that's been matched by some executive directors. But here's the really interesting point about that statistic. I did it with only one sheet of paper. That's it. One sheet. That's all I had. We had no collateral marketing materials, no visitor information sheets, no brochures, no invitation cards, and forget about a website, email, social media, none of that existed yet. I was able to open 20 chapters and all I had was that one sheet of paper. It was a typewritten sheet with the meeting agenda typed up by me on an IBM Selectric typewriter. I bet most of you don't remember that. It's basically an Anchor now. Back then I typed Columbus style, seek out and discover. I'd invite people and I'd say, you know, they would say to me, do you have any material? And I'd say, no, you really need to come and experience this. It's an amazing experience. And they'd say, well, surely you have some material. And I'd say, no, you have to come experience it. And they'd say, well, you got to have something. And I'd say, well, I have the agenda. And they'd look at it and they go, well, this doesn't tell me anything about an experience. And I'd say, yeah, I know. That's why you have to come to the meeting. That's all I had. Well, it's not all I had. Here's why I'm telling you this story. I had one other thing. In addition to that one sheet of paper, I was passionate about spreading the word and helping more and more people succeed in their business. Nothing great in life has ever been accomplished without a little bit of passion. I love the technology, the processes, the systems we have today. And the one thing we need in order to help more people is passion. I want you to inspire people. I want you to inspire people to inspire other people. That's really what BNI's mission is all about. Take away all the stuff and you can still grow. Trust me, I know I had nothing but one sheet of paper and a ton of passion about what BNI could do for people. Today more than ever, today more than in 1985, people need BNI. Communities need BNI. Countries need BNI. Take a moment and think about one of the reasons you were first well and truly inspired by BNI. Grab a hold of that, use that, and any other memories that you have about what first made you passionate about the organization. That's what you want to share. That's how you can inspire people. They need it right now, and you can give it to them. We can end this year actually growing. We could have 36 years of consecutive growth by just inspiring people and giving them a great experience. I'm passionate about helping people change their circumstances. Passion, it's the one thing no one can give you but you. With that passion, you can make a difference, and more importantly, you can change lives. I believe we can change lives. So let's make a difference in more people's lives. Forget about all the noise around you. There have always been distractions. There will always be distractions. Some are bigger than others. Focus on your passion. Focus on helping more people in your community. They need you today more than ever. They need BNI today more than ever. BNI members have survived the most challenging economic times since the Great Depression. And I'm really proud of how members and directors have helped one another with these unexpected business disruptions and personal life issues. I'm not surprised, but I'm incredibly proud. I've seen members come together and support one another after Hurricane Katrina, the tsunami in Japan, the wildfires in Australia, and many other occasions. One in particular is really poignant for me, and that was California's Northridge earthquake in the 1990s. I attended a BNI group in the San Fernando Valley just a couple of days after the earthquake, and when I got to the meeting, we all discovered that the restaurant was actually condemned the night before because of so much damage from the quake. I watched as the president circled everyone on his own, circled everyone up in the parking lot and held a meeting, standing up right there. He started the meeting by asking everyone how they were. How's their family doing? Are they all okay? Later, he ended the meeting by having everyone go around one person at a time and share with the membership anything they needed. I watched member after member support one another by sharing food, water, power generators, you name it. It was incredible. That was the embodiment of our Givers Gain philosophy. The restart process in California began then and there. On September 15th, BNI declared that we were going to take a leadership role in restarting the world this year. It's a global movement to help businesses big and small restart and grow. BNI wants to help businesses during this difficult time. That's our messaging. There have been many amazing stories about how BNI members have survived and thrived during this period, and I'm happy to talk about those if you'd like. We've helped our BNI members generate over $10.3 billion worth of business in the midst of these crazy times just this year. Show people that BNI is about helping and supporting one another in good times and in bad. Reach out to entrepreneurs and show them how our group can help them. Reach out to business professionals and show them how BNI can support them. Be a beacon of hope in a sea of fear. We can help people change their circumstances. I'd love for you to help me restart the world, and let's do it through the support the BNI community can give people. Invite people to be part of this program, help them to help each other. Today, more than ever, people need their network. Today, more than ever, people need BNI. With that, my friend Todd, I appreciate your invite. Let me answer any questions that you guys might have for the next.
Okay, Ivan, here we go. We have a lot of questions that came in pre-webinar today, and we have some that came in, but I'll start you off with an easy one. Back in the spring, I remember you talking about the great pause, and I love that.
Great pause. Yeah.
Great pause. And I read an article over the weekend that said 18% of all office workers in Manhattan there's only 18% of the office workers who've come back to Manhattan. So what do we say to the people that still feel a little disconnected, that are in parts north, south, east, and west, that haven't been able to come back to their in-person meetings? What can we say to them right now to give them that passion?
Oh, there's so much to talk about in terms of not being able to come back to meetings. I love in-person meetings. I think in-person meetings are incredibly important. Nothing beats being able to meet somebody in person and, face to face, shake their hands, have a conversation. I miss it. But this is the situation we have. And, I get the Zoom, what's the phrase that's used? Where people are just tired of
Zoom fatigue.
Yeah, Zoom fatigue. Tough word, right? I get the Zoom fatigue issue totally, but let's look at our options here. Okay, do a Zoom meeting, or show up in person, get COVID, and somebody dies. I mean, come on. Can you imagine? I feel lucky that this happened in this era, rather than when the early days of when I started BNI. Because had this happened in 1985, we wouldn't have this opportunity. Are you kidding? I couldn't talk to you in New York. I talked to London last night, Australia last night, London this morning. I couldn't have done that. And so what you have to do is, it's about the mindset. Starting with the great pause. I don't like to call it quarantine or lockdown. It's the great pause. Are things ideal? Hell no. Things kind of suck, but we have opportunities. There are opportunities, and Zoom and platforms like this allow us to connect in a way that we couldn't do it before. Let me just give you one little story, and we'll go to the next question. I had someone come to me who was a president, and this was back in March when a lot of the US chapters were transitioning. And she said, I have a member, a little older, baby boomer, who he doesn't want to do meetings online. And it took everything we could do to get him to put the referrals in the app. And he just doesn't want to do meetings online. And I told her to say this to him. And Todd, you know this to be true. I never tell directors, say to somebody, Ivan said. I never do that. As a matter of fact, I say, don't do that. But I told her, I said, I want you to tell him, Ivan said. Tell him this. Ivan said he hates change. And it's true, I do. I hate change. But the only thing Ivan, I said, tell him this, the only thing Ivan hates more than change is failure. I really hate failure. So he can change or he can fail. The choice is his. Nobody can make that choice for him. He's got to make that choice for himself. And you tell him that you're there for him. You will help him make that transition. And I am so proud of this guy who made the transition. I mean, he didn't say, yay, I now want to do online. But he said, yeah, I get it, okay. And he did it. He's still a member. He's going to the meetings. Zoom fatigue is real. I get it. But what are our options? Many experts are writing about the fact that networking meetings are super spreading events. Do you want that to happen under our watch? I don't. And so I think we have to understand that it's time in our lives to be comfortable with discomfort. And thank goodness we have this technology to be able to get us through $10 billion we've done in business. Can you imagine? So many businesses are going out of business, but BNI members have done 10 billion in business. All right, I hope that answers the question.
No, it does. And I will tell you, I enjoy the Zoom. And this week in my meeting, we had someone from Dubai visit.
How cool is that?
And she was so excited to be in New York. And obviously she couldn't do that if that wasn't for a BNI meeting. So I have a question from a colleague of mine, Jeff, a director consultant. And here we go. Manhattan is unique in BNI, he says. And our members are largely in professional services. In the suburbs, BNI plays to more roofers, painters, landscapers. So he asked, with the enterprise level salespeople in BNI in Manhattan who target large corporate buyers, he hears BNI is too small for me. My clients are very niche. Nobody here can refer to me. How would you help members handle this objection?
So two things. First, what I love about that question is that if you go to the suburbs and you talk to the professionals there, they go, I want to be in a group with professionals. I don't want to be with the landscapers, the painters. Now, not all people do, but I hear that question in the suburbs from some people. I don't want to be with the landscaper. I don't want to be with the painter. I want to be with the professionals. And so the irony to me is that, you know, when you go to the suburbs, the people are concerned that there aren't enough professionals. And in urban areas, not just Manhattan, they're concerned that that's not good enough. So let's talk about this for a moment. I have talked about and I've written about a concept that I think applies to the second piece of that, because people, you know, they want to network up. They want to network with the decision makers. The problem is that the decision makers are hiding from you. They're not in your networks, and they're in networks that only other decision makers are in. And you know, there's just no way you can pierce that. And so the key is to get connected with quality business professionals. I wrote about this first back in 2007. I'll tell a quick story. I was on Necker Island, and I'm sitting there, and I had an article that was due that day, and I had no idea what I was going to write about. And up walks Sir Richard Branson from Virgin Atlantic, Virgin Telephone, Virgin Galactic, Virgin everything. And he looked at me and he said, and Todd, I know you know the story. He said, so what are you doing? And I said, I have an article, I have a deadline, it's due today, I got to write it. He said, okay, well, when you're done, come on out. We're all by the pool, we're out at the ocean, we're having a blast. Come join us. And if I don't see you, sit next to me at dinner tonight. I'd love to learn more about this BNI thing that you do. And he walked away. And I sat there. I swear, I sat there and I went, damn, how did I get here? You know, how did I get here? On this, on his private island. And, you know, this billionaire walks by and he says, hey, what are you doing? Let's go out and play. And, you know, if I don't see you out there, let's, you know, sit next to me at the lunchroom and let's talk. And I thought, how did I get here? And so what I did was I reverse engineered how I got there. And it went back 2.5 years. And here's the point that goes to the question. It came in going back 2.5 years to how did I get to Necker Island with a billionaire? It started with a solopreneur life coach who asked me for a favor. It wasn't even a referral. It was a favor, which I was willing to do. And that introduced me to somebody who, you know, I've always talked about, it's about building relationships, and I built a relationship with that person who introduced me to somebody, who introduced me to somebody. I call this the butterfly effect of networking. The butterfly effect of networking, how one thing in one place leads to something else, leads to something else, leads to something else, that leads to something big. So the key is you want to network with quality business professionals, because you never know who they know, and who that person knows, and who that person knows. And that's how I got to hang out. By the way, I've been there 3 times now. I got to hang out on a billionaire's island because of a solopreneur life coach. Never underestimate who people know It's powerful, and it's all about building relationships. And I hope that answers the question.
It does. And I always say it's the network beyond the network.
Yes.
You can't look in the room and say, I can't do business with this one. I don't like the way this person's dressed, and so on and so forth. You don't know
Yeah.
what you know.
Well, let's do the math on that. You're absolutely right. So let's do the math on that, and let's go on simple math, nothing complicated. You know, what's the average chapter size in Manhattan?
It's close to 25.
Okay, so you got 20 on average, 25 members per chapter. So there's a concept in social science called the Dunbar number. So let's use the Dunbar number, which is conservative and based on science. It says, what's the total number of people that one individual can know personally? Now, you know, real friends, you know, Facebook has redefined what a friend is, but I'm talking about real friends, people that you really know. So the Dunbar number is 150, which is interesting because that's the same average size of a military company. And in a military company, it was developed at that size because they wanted to make sure everybody knew each other, which is really interesting and just by chance. So 150 people. So you have 25 people times 150 people. You really have almost 4,000 people sitting in the room. Assuming that they're all average.
Right.
And the truth is, people who network really well, that's just an average. They often have more. So you don't have 25 people sitting in the room. You literally have almost 4,000 people sitting in that room if you just apply the Dunbar number to that.
Well, there's the first takeaway, the Dunbar effect. I just wanted to go back real quick. Did you ever think you'd be playing in a sandbox of Richard Branson, Harvey Mackay, Jack Canfield, Jim Collins, Michael Gerber? Did you ever think that would happen?
No. Now, I don't know Jim. The rest of the people I do know. I don't know Jim. Love to know Jim. Amazing book that he wrote, Good to Great. Probably not, no. You know, I didn't really think about it. I certainly, you know, Michael Gerber was probably one of the first people that I got to know. And the amazing thing about that was that I read his book, The E-Myth, when I started BNI. And I used the concepts he talked about in working on the business, not in the business. And for years, probably 10 years, you know, when people on interviews would ask me, you know, how did you scale the business? I'd always quote Gerber. And I happened to be on a radio show and I said, well, I read this great book. It's called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. Guess who called me the next day? Michael Gerber. And he said, hey, I heard you on the radio show yesterday, and I just want to thank you for recommending my book. And I was like, are you kidding? It's my pleasure. He said, I'd love to get together with you. And we did. He came, happened to be up in Big Bear. I had a lake house in Big Bear in California. And he came to my lake house and, you know, ended up spending 2 or 3 days. And we became really good friends. And you know, over time, virtual mentors can become real life mentors. And many of the people you named, particularly Jack Canfield, have become very, very good friends, and Michael, very good friends over the years. It's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know if I did say Jack Canfield, but thanks for bringing him up.
You did. No, you said Jack.
I did say Jack because I know.
Yeah, Jack's a really good friend. And what I love about Jack, and I also love about Branson, is that neither one of them, their egos do not enter the room before them. They are really down-to-earth men who are very, very humble. And you know, I don't know if you know, I wrote a new book, Todd, called Infinite Giving: The 7 Principles of Givers Gain. And one of the things that I talk about in the book is humility being one of the laws of givers gain. And in it, I said, humble people don't think less of themselves. They just think of themselves less. And I think that's certainly Jack Canfield, without a doubt. And that's even Richard Branson, which surprises people. That is definitely him.
A dear friend of mine gave me a great saying. They said, give without remembering and take without forgetting.
Yeah,
and I'm sure you've heard that, right?
I have, yeah.
We have a lot of questions here, and I had about 20, but I'm going to go to the people because I want to hear from them. So first question is from Christine, and she says, tell us the secret sauce, Ivan. I've been at this for 10 years and can't figure it out.
Okay, so the secret sauce to what? To making BNI work?
I would think to making BNI work, maximizing your return on investment and things of that nature.
So, I mean, there's a number of things. Let's start with this. I think the most successful people in life do 6 things 1,000 times, not 1,000 things 6 times. And I see a lot of business people, even BNI people, who do 1,000 things 6 times. They keep bouncing around to different ideas rather than focusing on, and it doesn't have to be 6, it can be 5, it could be 7, but it's a handful of things that you do over and over and over again consistently. Now, in a BNI perspective, you want to build a strong chapter. You want to get referrals out of your chapter. There are 4 things I think that are really important. The first is that you got to be in a chapter that has at least a minimum number of members that are over 20, because it's that 20 to 30 is where the magic begins to happen. And you know, when a chapter goes from 16 members to 32 members, when it doubles its size, it triples the number of referrals that take place. And the reason it does that is what I call the squared connection effect. The squared connection effect is this: when you have 16 people in a room, you have, I have to do the math, I think it's 254 connections. Yeah, 256. So when you have 16 people in a room, you have 256 connections between those 16 people. But when you have 32 people in a room, you have 1,024 connections. Woo, that's the squared connection effect. So doubling your size actually quadruples the connections. It would be really good if it quadrupled the referrals, but our experience is it triples the referrals. I can live with that. So when you double your size, you triple the amount of referrals. So that's the first thing, is you have to have a decent sized chapter. And it can't be just with warm bodies, which is the second thing. It's got to be quality people. Quality people. Really important to bring in quality people. I wrote a book on this topic. It's called Who's in Your Room? I would urge you to take a look at that book. It's about the secret to creating your best life. It's not about networking, but it's all about networking, because it's all about who you surround yourself with. And your network is important to you. So check that book out. But quality people, that's the second thing. And the third thing is engagement. Members who are highly engaged are much more likely to be successful. And by engagement, I mean, you know, don't just show up at a meeting and wing your weekly presentation. I see so many people that are winging it. Prepare for it. I have a podcast on this. I think it's called Your Business 101. I think that's what it's called, Your Business 101. And it's really, it's a guy who said to me, I just created a curriculum for my business. And I scheduled the curriculum for 52 weeks. And I just put in my calendar to remind me the day before on a specific topic. I didn't even prepare that topic until the day before. And when I got it, that reminder, then I prepared what I was going to say. And that day I did my 1-minute weekly presentation on that topic of my business, so that over the course of the year, I could pour into members specific things that would enable them to refer me. Remember, you're not trying to close a sale, you're trying to train a sales force. Look at that podcast. I think it's My Business 101 or Your Business 101. And that will absolutely help you. And of course, the fourth thing, Todd, you know, is about telling stories. It's all about inspiring people based on experiences. When you inspire people based on experiences, magic happens. And you hear in most of my stories, I talk about most of my answers, I talk about some kind of story that really helps to hit home with people. I hope that answers the question. It was a good one.
It does. And I'll tell you something you taught me. You said a great storyteller needs to deliver a fact wrapped in emotion, delivered with passion.
It's almost it. It's a fact wrapped in an emotion that compels people to take action, that transforms them in some way. That's a gregot story.
That's too long of a quote for me, Ivan.
That's 4 things.
Okay.
A fact wrapped in an emotion. And here's the thing to remember, is that's got to compel them to do something. They have to say, yes, I'm going to do that. And when they do, it transforms them.
So I'm going to combine what you just said with a question from Roy, who's the president of Chapter 1. He said, we long-timers know how BNI works, but how can we create a more inclusive culture that welcomes everyone? And you talked about engagement in your answer just now. So how do we get people not only to be more engaged, but be more inclusive? I know that might be a two-parter, but
Oh, no, that's fine. So I just did an article and a podcast. The podcast is podcast 672. And it's about being intentional about diversity. And I think this is really important. In this day and age, I've been talking about diversity, by the way, for many years. I wrote about it more than a decade ago, that diversity is good networking, because networks are by nature clumpy. That's the technical term. We tend to hang out with people like ourselves. It's just human nature. I wish it weren't so, but it is. And so we have to break out of that. And the beauty of diversity and networking is that if you have a wide and diverse network, you have connectors in your network that connect you to other clumps, to other clusters of people. So the more diverse your network, the more connectors you have to groups of people that you wouldn't otherwise have. Diversity is good business. It's good networking. So I did an article with my co-author, Brian Hilliard, who co-authored Networking Like a Pro with me. He was the lead author, African-American lead author, who helped me with this article on diversity. And I did a podcast on it, 672. There are 7 things we talk about. Let me see if I can hit them real quick. First, recognize that diversity is a process, not a program. You have to commit to it regularly. That's number 1. Number 2, look at your contacts. Look at your contacts on your phone or your social media to see how diverse they are. Do you really have a diverse set of contacts on your personal connections? And if not, you really might want to work on that. Consider volunteering, number 3, for organizations which put you in contact with more people who are different than you. 4, make a point of talking to people who don't look like you. Now, Brian he's awesome at this, and he tells stories how he'll be at a grocery store and he'll just walk up to people and start a conversation, because he lives in a very Anglo white community. He's African American. And so he wants people to have a different impression of what an African American is. And so he just walks up to people and starts having conversations. And he says he's made a lot of great friends. And I think it's good advice. And it's a great way. Forget about the diversity issue. It's a great way to live, I think. And he's a master at that. Invite different people from different ethnicities to your networking group. We talk about that. Obviously, that was something that I suggested in BNI. And make this a top-down initiative whenever you can in the organization. So, and wherever you are. So if you feel like your organization's not handling this effectively, wherever you are, it should be from there down. You focus on diversity from wherever you are and forget about the powers that be if they're not doing a good job. And whenever possible, hard code diversity into the fabric of your business, which means, consider it as a core value in your business, which, oh, by the way, BNI is looking at that as adding for the first time in many years, a core value.
fair enough.
Hope that answers the question. It was a great question and very appropriate. Take a look at my podcast.
We did, and I have looked at it, and when we've talked about it. So thank you for that, and that's a great reminder. So I have a question, and I'm also going to combine it with, I think I'm looking for Jessica here. She talked about the fact that we're seeing a lot of guests, Ivan, on virtual. There's no objection, there's no train, there's no cost to come to a BNI meeting, but the conversion rates are lower. So what do you think we can do in Manhattan to increase our closing ratios on the guests we're getting each and every week?
So I think there's a couple of things you do. Touch points are really important. So let me ask you, Todd, when you're doing the beginning of the meetings and you have the open networking, are you doing breakouts with people?
That's a great question. I think a majority of the chapters in Manhattan are, but we still have some that aren't.
Oh, stop that. You have to do breakouts because it's got to be more personal. We learned that after doing Zoom for like a couple of months and going, this isn't working well. And so what chapters are doing is the president is breaking everyone out into like groups of 3 or so. And it may more if it's a big group, so that it can be it's like you're in a corner of a room having a conversation. And the people that who are members, you talk to them and find out how they're doing. But visitors, you got to welcome them. You got to say something like, hey, it's great having you here. Tell me what you do. And we don't have anybody in that profession. I really think that that's a good fit for the kind of people we have here. Let me welcome you to the organization. People want to belong to something that they feel welcome to. It's like the TV series Cheers, where everybody knows your name. And so when people feel welcome, they join. So I think every chapter should have somebody who calls that visitor and says, thank you. We appreciate you being here. We'd love to have you submit an application. That kind of follow-up just makes all the difference in the world. It's about personal connection. You do that, you'll increase your closing ratio substantially. I absolutely am certain of it.
We've been recommending that the president's calls some of the visitors, and it's a little cachet when the president reaches out to a guest, as opposed to probably the visitor host or someone else. So that's what we've been talking about.
It's a lot of work for one person, so I don't mind if you split it up. But on the other hand, if the president looks at it as a networking opportunity, come on, you have a chance to get to know somebody a little bit better, have a conversation, make it a mini one-to-one, then it's not just doing something for BNI. It's about it's about creating visibility for you as a professional.
Exactly. Question, how about this? What would you consider we talked about passion, and I love that. What would you consider some of the top attributes of successful networkers? Now, I know I listened to a podcast and you did a survey and you talked about one of the key traits of a notable networker. So maybe you want to tie that in.
Yeah, I would be happy to do that. I did do a survey of thousands of people. Let me see if I can find that real quick. Maybe you know the podcast number.
I think it was, you know what? I have it here. I think it was 572, maybe. It would be. I'll give you the lead. The lead was listening was the #1 trait that came back.
Well, yeah, and I've done this survey a couple of times, and it's almost always been listening. But there are a number of other characteristics that might surprise people. A follow-up.
01. It's 501.
501. All right, let me find that, and we'll go through all of those. But here's the interesting thing about that. Episode 501. Thanks for helping me out there. So I think it's 7 ways to better networking. #1 is good listener. #2 is a positive attitude. Wow. I mean, a lot of people, they like to do business with people who have a positive attitude, but who would have thought that would be one of the top characteristics of a great networker? People don't like to do business with people who are grumpy. So positive attitude. Helping other, being collaborative, sincere, follows up, that's in the top 7. Trustworthy, approachable. Here's what's interesting, is that the bottom 7 are well, many people said to me, really one of the top characteristics is being able to do like social media and being able to connect on LinkedIn or whatever. That ranked second to the last of the 20-some categories that we had of what made a good networker. Being able to connect via social media was second to last. Now, someone said to me, yeah, but millennials wouldn't rank it. No, let me take this back. It ranked last. Misremembered. It ranked absolutely last. So someone said millennials wouldn't think that it's last. So I took all the millennials out and just looked at them, and they were right. It didn't rank last. It ranked second to the last. And so everything that ranks as the top 7 characteristics are all characteristics of connecting with people, about building trust, about building relationships, approachable, trustworthy, follow-up, sincere, helping others. These are all touch points. It's all about making people feel like they're important to you and showing that they're important to you. Great question.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, you wrote a book which I read, called Networking and Sex, Not What You Think. I said it was Ivan Misner's 50 Shades of Grey when I gave it out as a door prize. And in it, you talk about who are the better networkers, men or women. So why don't you speak a little about that?
Yeah. The book is Business Networking and Sex, Not What You Think. It's about the difference between men and women and how they network. And we surveyed 12,000 people. So it was pretty substantial. It was based, it was data-based, and it was a New Yorker who co-authored it with me, Frank DeRaffoli, who you know. Frank co-authored it along with Hazel Walker. And I was the survey says guy. So I would just say, this is what the data says. I'm not going to give any editorial comment. I did it like the news was done 30 years ago. You know what I mean? This is the news. And you knew when it was an editorial because there'd be a thing across the bottom saying this is an editorial. I just gave the data. Frank gave the he said, this is the male response to the data, and Hazel did the she said. So it was a fun book. I loved doing it. We did ask, how much business have you gotten through your networking? And we found that women generated more business from their networking efforts than men did. We also found that women tended to be more relational in the way they networked than men were. That men were more likely than women to be transactional. Hi, my name's Ivan. Let's do business. Let's, who can you refer to me? And women were less likely than men to do that. They were much more likely to be relational. You want an example of that?
Sure.
Yeah, here's a great example I witnessed once. I'm talking to a man and a woman. And a second woman walks up to us, and the woman who was already there said, "Hi, welcome tonight. Tell me, how did you hear about tonight's event?" Now, normally, what people would say was, "Oh, tell me, who are you? What do you do?" And so the second woman said, "Well, I heard about the event from my friend Debbie." And the first woman goes, "Oh my goodness, you know Debbie? I know Debbie too. How do you know Debbie?" Now I look over at the guy. And you can see the guy's like, seriously, kill me now. Who cares about Debbie? We're here to do business. And he wanted to focus on the business. And these two women are making a connection based on a third person. That's relational. And so people, and by the way, we then took gender out of it. We looked at men and women who were relational versus transactional. And all men and women who were relational versus transactional actually generated more business than the average. And so it really is about being relational, not transactional.
Yeah, building those long-term relationships. You recognize that early because when I first joined BNI in 1999, there was a 6-month membership. And you guys quickly transitioned to the year membership because you knew it took time to build relationships.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to know what it started at. It started at monthly.
Did it? I didn't know that.
That was brutal. That was the dumbest idea I ever had.
Is that in the Giver's Game book? I don't know. I don't remember reading that.
I think it is, yeah.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, we did monthly. Maybe it isn't. I don't want to give anybody ideas. That was horrible. Absolutely horrible. It was so transactional then.
Let me ask you this. What do you enjoy most about BNI?
Well, what I think I enjoy most is that I am absolutely humbled by the results that people are getting. I'm humbled by the things that people tell me, how BNI has changed their life. I mean, when I started BNI, I didn't think people would say, this organization's changed my life. I mean, I thought it would help people with business, but people tell me that, it's helped them in life. It's helped them, with friendships and relationships. And I'm just really incredibly proud of that. I said it in my opening remarks. It's so poignant to see members get together and say, okay, business is great. Let's set that aside for a moment. How are you? How are you doing? How can we help you? I didn't see that when I started BNI. It came pretty quick, but afterwards. But when I implemented the philosophy of giver's gain, which was like in the second year, that just blows me away, and I'm truly humbled by what BNI has become.
And it comes across, and we appreciate that. So I have a question from Melanie. Melanie talked about the fact that she heard about hybrid meetings and where do you see that going, being implemented? And second part, for all virtual groups that are being built, do you still recommend that they are based in a specific geographic area?
Two-part question, great question. So let's start with hybrid meetings. So we've made no final decision on this. We're open, we're talking. I do believe, now what a lot of people don't know is that 2 years ago, I wrote an article for an entrepreneur. And if I have a chance, I'll see if I can find it and put it in the chat box here. And the article's title was something to the effect of "The Future of Face-to-Face is Online." I wrote that 2 years ago. And I thought it was because of technology, because the experts are saying that within the next 8 years or so, holographic mixed reality technologies will be as commonplace as an iPhone. And I thought when that happens, BNI is going to be disrupted. We're going to be Kodak, who said, let's license this digital camera stuff. We want our processing business, which ended up making them go bankrupt. So we're either going to be disrupted or we're going to lead the disruption. I didn't see COVID coming. And so I think that it's inevitable that there will be some type of hybrid with some, if not many, chapters. I think many chapters will go back full on in person. And I am confident we'll be okay with that.
Have any
times,
right? Right. Have any chapters gone back yet in the world, or no?
So there are some chapters who have been approved to go back in regions and countries where there are 0 COVID cases.
Okay.
I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but networking events are written about by experts as a super spreader event. And we don't want that. And so in areas where there are virtually no COVID cases, some chapters have come back, but I would say 98%, 99% of our chapters are still meeting online. We don't want somebody to die because they went to a networking meeting. It's not worth it. So, but eventually I think many will go back to in-person. I think what may also be possible is a hybrid where maybe 3 weeks a month you meet online, 1 in person. Here's low-hanging fruit. This is so obvious and so awesome. It snows in New York. Most regions, when there's a snow day at school and the school is closed, the BNI chapters go dark. And they say, if it's a snow day for school, we're not going to meet. Well, now you can meet. Just meet online. So a snow day at school means a Zoom meeting. If there is no snow day, then you meet in person. So, I mean, there are so many, this opens up so many opportunities. I know this was a horrible experience, but you have to look for the opportunities in those experiences. And there are opportunities in this that will make this a stronger organization, one that'll be around 10 years from now to be helping people if we do this right. Now, I think the second part of the question was geographic. Yeah, I think we're going to always anchor it on some kind of geography because I think it's really important that people meet face to face at some point. If it's monthly, if it's quarterly, I think, at least in my lifetime, I think that's going to continue to be a factor that it is locked into some kind of geography, because meeting in person, I think most people get it, that it makes a difference.
I think they do. I think the people that are joining now, they're taking this big leap of faith, right? They're joining via Zoom. They've never experienced an in-person meeting.
Yeah. We've had thousands and thousands of people join BNI during COVID. I mean, our number of chapters have gone from 9,600 to 9,700. We've added 100 chapters during the middle of this COVID craziness, which to me is just amazing.
Yeah, we've added 235 new members since March 1st.
Wow.
That's the date I used from COVID. And July, when I was looking at the numbers, was our busiest July in years. And typically July and August would be slow.
Slower, yeah. That's
right. I have a fairly interesting...
Well done, Manhattan. I'm impressed.
Thank you for that. We have some great directors here. and led by Michael and Todd, our executive directors, who you know very well.
I know them very well.
I have a really good question from a longstanding member, so I got to get this out for him.
Okay.
And I think it's in your wheelhouse, being you have your PhD. He says, why do you suppose, Ivan, colleges don't teach business networking?
Oh, so I definitely have an opinion on that. And it usually makes it makes professors really upset. So hopefully he's not a professor. He's not a professor, is he?
He's an attorney.
Okay, good. So it's a rare occasion where I can answer a question for an attorney and won't get in trouble. So I was an adjunct faculty member for 16 years at a state university in California and a private university. So I saw it from that level. I was also on the board of trustees for a university. The president reports to the board of trustees. So I've seen it as a professor, as an adjunct, and I've seen it as the board of trustees. What I've learned is that it is the full-time tenured professors that control the curriculum, not the dean, not the president. It's the full-time tenured professors. So here's my theory. Most full-time tenured professors in business have never had a real job in their life. They teach business, but they've never run a business. And so they think, you know, heaven forbid that I should get my hands dirty and make a sale. That's why we don't teach sales in colleges and universities. And so it's, you know, it's been a real struggle for me. I am really excited, and I don't know where this will go, but I'm really excited to think it's possible. I'm talking to Harvard University right now, their extension program, about doing a core curriculum course on business networking. That blows my mind, you know, and let me tell you, if Harvard does it, people are going to pay attention. So I'm talking to them about a core curriculum course for graduate students on business networking and social capital.
Yeah, I think it's a long time coming. So good luck with that. Good luck with that. Maybe you have to make an endowment to them, I think.
Maybe.
It might help.
I don't know that I have enough money to make an endowment to Harvard.
I have a question.
You know what an endowed chair usually is? I mean, it could be done, but do you know an endowed chair at most universities, small universities, Harvard's probably way more, an endowed chair is usually $2 million to endow a chair.
Okay.
Now, bigger universities, it could be upwards of 10 million.
Okay, I have a question for you. How can we take an underperforming member, and we talked about passion, we've talked about engagement. We, and here in Manhattan, BNI, talk about the culture of the room, or the leadership team, the membership committee working with these members. Because I always said a rising tide raises all boats. If we can get someone who's underperforming to average and average to good and good to great, obviously the chapter benefits. So what do you say to that in terms of leadership team members, membership committee, and helping those who are just not getting it?
Not getting, yeah. Well, let me ask you a question. Give me at least one example of what it is they're not doing at the chapter that they need to be doing. Or
real basic stuff. They're not doing enough one-to-ones. They're not bringing visitors. They're showing up. They're giving the same commercial over and over.
Okay.
Things of that nature.
Right. So they're a minnow, a member in name only.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, they're a member in name only. I get it. So what you want to do is you want to sit down with those people, and I would urge either the membership committee or the chapter president to sit down with that person and do this. What we tend to do is we'll say, this is what you don't do. We sit down with somebody and say, well, you're not committed to the chapter. You're not doing one-to-ones. You're not changing up your presentation. All the things you're not doing. And I don't think that'll work. And Todd, I know you've heard me tell this story. When I was 13 years old, my mother gave me this paperweight. It's on my desk. It's always here, right here. I was 13. That's a long time ago. It says, diplomacy is the art of letting someone else have your way. And she said, son, you're a bull in a china shop. You just knock people over. You've got to learn how to collaborate with people. It's not about manipulation. It's about collaboration. And so what you have to do is you have to learn how to collaborate with these guys. And so you say to them, how can we help you be more engaged in this chapter? And by engagement, this is what we mean. you know, doing more one-to-ones because they make a difference in the amount of referrals that are generated. Doing presentations that are different every week. You know, everything you just said. These are the kinds of things that is engagement. Remember earlier I said one of the four things is engagement. These are the kinds of things that are engagement. How can we help you do that? Their answer, and here, this is gold, Todd. What I'm giving is gold. Their answer will be one of two things. It'll either be just one of two. It'll either be a can't do answer or it will be a won't do answer. Now, a can't do answer, you know, that often comes from people who haven't been in BNI a long time. They don't know how to do it. They're struggling. They're challenged. We've all been can't do's. I was a can't do. Are you kidding me? I didn't know how to network when I started BNI. I was method acting my way through this whole process, man. I didn't know how to do it. I figured it out as I went. But we got it figured out now. There are people who can help you. And so you ask them, and if they're a can't do, they don't know how, help them. They deserve that. The more people we can help, do you know, I really believe that we have people that are in our story that we tell, you know, my life is like this because this person did that for me. But the real question is not who's in our story, but whose story are we in? That's the big one. Whose story are we in? Whose life have we changed? Who have we helped? And so say, you know, those people who are can't do, help them. And if you don't know how to help them, reach out to Todd, reach out to one of the director consultants. Somebody there in Manhattan knows how to help that person. That's what we're here for. Do that.
That's fair.
But let me give you the second part. The second part is the won't do's. The won't do's are a whole different story. They'll say something like, well, you know, with the kind of people that we have in the chapter, it's really hard for me to give referrals, or I've been in this so long, I know what I'm doing. They just won't do it. And so that's the tougher conversation. That's the conversation where you say something like, you know, I understand, you know, maybe, no, this is beautiful here. Maybe it's no longer a good fit for you to participate in BNI. It might be time to step down. It's okay to step down. Believe it or not, sometimes one of the best ways to grow a chapter is what I call addition by subtraction. There's a podcast on that. You cut the dead wood, the minnows, you cut the minnows out, the chapter grows. So if they're a won't do, you put them on notice tactfully. This is what we need from you in order to be a member, and it's okay to step down if you want. And if they're unwilling to do it, that's the hardest conversation, where you then say, then if you're unwilling to do those kinds of things, then we're not going to renew you, or we're going to open your classification. But see, the thing is that you can take all the problems and narrow it down to a few to have the tough conversation. The rest, it's the great conversation. It's how can we help you? How can we help you succeed?
We need to take more time to do that. I agree. All right, I have one quick question, and then I wanted to talk to you real quick about, because I think the members listening, this has never happened before. We never opened it up. Can you speak real quick to getting our members involved with the global virtual convention? I know it's coming up in November, and I've been talking about it to my chapters real quick, because I think it'd be a real help, because clearly only members in the region in an in-person convention could only attend a convention in that area.
You got to come to this convention. It's so easy for you to come to this convention, to register. And I'm pretty confident they're all being recorded. So if you're registered and you can't make it live, any of the sessions, because the sessions are going to be all different times, because we're in 24 different time zones, you'll have access to the recorded sessions. But look at who the speakers are. Seth Godin. Seth Godin. I met him. He's an amazing guy. He's incredible content. He's a keynote speaker. Lisa Nichols, who is in the movie The Secret, she's a keynote speaker. Ken Honda, who in Manhattan, you may not know him, but this guy's a rock star in Japan. I mean, when I am in Japan, people are like, oh my goodness, you know Ken Honda? I mean, it's like, well, he's a rock star. John Maxwell. John Maxwell, the world's leading expert on leadership. By the way, if you haven't checked out our videos that we've done on BNI University, there's like almost 20 videos that I did with John about leadership. Go to BNI University. Check those out. They're all short, 5-6 minutes. John Maxwell is speaking. Well, we've never had a lineup like this. You have got to sign up for the convention. It will be the best convention we have ever had. I'm excited.
And of course, the chief visionary officer will also be speaking.
Yeah,
Last
I'll be talking too.
Last question, because I think this is so apropos, and I still have my button. Talk about the acronym for Manhattanites, the BNI region, EGBOC, because I think we need that just at the end. We'll close with that.
Yeah, so I've used that a couple of times in BNI. The first was with BNI Connect when it was just a disaster. And directors were so mad at me, and we created a plan to fix it. And we even did a song. Do you remember the song, Todd? So EGBOC, I had a musician who was just brilliant, Freddie, his last name.
I can't help you, but I do remember him singing it at the
Freddie Johnson.
Right.
Freddie Johnson. EGBOC, everything's going to be okay. EGBOK, and we did buttons on it. Everything's gonna be okay. It is. You know, when I say today more than ever, you need your network, you do. And if you have your network, I really believe everything's gonna be okay. People either get frozen by fear or focused by fear. I think it's important for us to get focused by fear, because I get it. These are fearful times. We have to get focused by fear. We have to have hope. Hope is that little voice inside us whispering about what can be, when everyone around us is screaming what can't be. Hope plus a plan plus action will get us through this. EGBOC. Come to that convention. You're going to hear great speakers who will help you get through this. Thanks, Todd.
Ivan, thank you so much. I just want to thank you on a personal note. I know I speak for all of Manhattan BNI, for Michael and Todd. We thank you so much for creating this wonderful organization. This has been a pleasure. This has been a privilege. I hope to see you at the virtual convention, and hopefully you'll come back real soon and say hello to us.
Listen, I'm happy to do this anytime. You just let me know when you want me to come back. I'll come back, talk about different stuff, answer any question people have.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you, my friend. Take care.